In this lesson, we'll extrude out the front part of the car. So this is the area that we're going to be concentrating on at this point, and you can see that the geometry is starting to get a little bit more complex here. So we've got, for instance, this tapered piece comes down and actually becomes the top ledge of this little inset where the slide is, and then this flat part here actually is flush with this part. So it's a little bit more complex once you start to take a look at these things. But let's go ahead and start to add some geometry in here so that we can start to fill this out. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is make some cuts across here. So you can see that there's a split right here where this panel is going to be cut. And also I want to make a split right down here where this geometry needs to kind of come around. And you can see that the geometry that we have right now is not really flowing in the correct direction. So I'm going to go ahead and just look at how we can cut this across. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that when I start to add geometry, it's going to actually change the shape of this. So let's assume that we're going to be smoothing this. So if we come down in our subdivision surface rollout and turn on our subdivision, you can see how it's nice and curved. But once we start to add more geometry in here, that's going to start to create some flat spots. So these are things that we need to be aware of when we're going in and adding any sort of geometry in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to cut, make a nice slice across here. So I'm going to select the polygons right here. If you don't select the polygons, you have the potential of actually slicing across the entire piece, which may or may not be what you want. In this case, it's not really what we want. So I'm going to go down to Edit Polygons, below that, and find Edit Geometry, and then we'll find Click Slice right down here. And so we'll go ahead and click on that, and that's going to allow us to click on one side. And you can kind of see that red line come across, and we'll just drag across and click to the other side. And it creates a nice straight line right across there. You can see that. But now that I've added this geometry, if I go down and now smooth this out using our NURMS subdivision, you can see it's getting kind of a flat spot in there. So what we can do to help that out is to kind of move this geometry out. And I want to move back to my view reference plane here, reference mode there. And so I'm going to go ahead and just kind of space this out just to create kind of a nicer curve going in there. Now I want to do the same thing up here. So I'm going to go ahead and move this kind of out of the way. Okay, and this is where our viewport backgrounds come in handy because we have a nice image there in the back to let us know how things are going. So go ahead and just click that off for the moment. And now I'm going to select these polygons and create a nice slice right across there. So again, we'll come down and click slice right across here. I can go from this direction straight across if I want to do that as well. Okay, so go ahead and finish that up, and you can see that that line's been created there. Now if I go ahead and smooth this back up, you can see that we're getting a little bit of deformation there. So we can grab this and just kind of move it out. Grab this and just move it up just a little bit, just to create kind of a nice smooth line there, smooth curve right there. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and turn off our smoothing. We now need to create this geometry that's going to come across here. The first thing I'm going to do is pick this edge right here, go ahead and hold down Shift, and with my move activated, I'll go ahead and just pull this straight out. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this vertex right here and pull this out too. And I'm going to leave a little bit of room beside this line for this headlight so that we can get kind of this nice ridge there. And you can see right here from the front it needs to actually come over. So I'm going to go ahead and just move that over. And also this guy, we can bring that over just a little bit as well. All right, so we're beginning to shape these things from multiple viewports. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and just select basically these edges here, okay, and I'll just go ahead and copy those up and move those down, and then we'll select the vertex subobject and just weld these two vertices together. Go into the settings, make sure we've got a high enough threshold there, go ahead and weld those together, okay, and then we'll do that one more time right up in here. Okay, just to get that geometry in there, and then we'll go ahead and weld those together. And we have to dial up our weld threshold there. And now this line that we've got up here isn't necessarily this line for the hood. It actually, we want it to connect kind of up here at the corner of this headlight. So I'm going to go ahead and just move some of these points around and kind of line them up the way that we want to. So this one I'm going to bring down kind of right in here. And this one we can kind of bring down, and we'll kind of move it over just a little bit and back. This one can kind of come out just a little bit. Okay, so just kind of line it up here from the front and from the side. And then this guy is the one we want to come in right here at the corner, or what you could say is the corner. It's kind of a soft corner, but kind of right in here. Okay, and then we can come in and smooth these out. You can see how this is all the way over here. Well, it needs to be all the way kind of right in here. Same thing for this corner. It needs to come in right about there. Okay, so we can start to line this up with the line that comes down here, and then these guys can come over and get kind of smoothed up as well. So just kind of pull those over into position there. Just do a little bit of shaping here. Okay, and you can see how that's starting to get shaped, right? So right in there like that. We can bring this up and maybe pull this down here and just get a nice curve going there. Okay. All right, so now we can concentrate kind of down in this area. Now for this guy, I want this to actually be flush with this flat piece right here. So I don't want to have this kind of taper going on here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select these two polygons, and let's go ahead and just delete those. Now grab these two edges, and I'll simply pull those straight out. So I'm going to hold down Shift and pull those right out in the X, and just make sure I've got both of those selected, and pull them straight out. Now from here it looks like nothing's happened, but you can see the difference here as these are coming straight out instead of having this kind of a taper in there. Okay, now to connect that up, I'm going to go ahead and take this edge, hold down Shift, and pull that out. And now instead of welding, just doing a straight weld, let's do a target weld so that we can tell the vertices which vertex we want it to snap to. Okay, so in this case, we want to keep this vertex and this vertex exactly where they are, and then snap these other two to that point. So we'll go to Vertex, and we'll turn on Target Weld. And the first point that we'll click is the point that we want to move, and the second point will be the point that we want to snap that to. So we'll go ahead and click on this point, and you can see the little dotted line there. And we'll go ahead and snap it to that point. And then over here, we'll do the same thing over on that side. So you can see we've now just created a very subtle difference in how the topology has been created there. Okay, so just come in here, and I'm just going to tweak this just a little bit. And now we can kind of start to finish this up by selecting these edges. So let's go ahead and select basically all of these guys here. Okay, and let's go ahead and just pull those forward. So go ahead and pull those out. Okay, and now we can start to kind of match these up a little bit. So I'm going to target weld again, go into Vertex, target weld under Edit Vertices. Now let's target weld that guy. Okay, and then I can simply select this vertex and go to our different views and decide where I want to move that over. So in this case, I want to go ahead and move that over into this area here. Okay, and I actually want to move it over all the way, kind of all the way right over there. Okay, and that's going to form that sort of bottom part of that lip there. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue working on the front part of this car. In the next lesson, we'll just start to shape this out a little bit more and get it prepared so that we can then kind of create the thickness of the body over to the other side. So we'll go ahead and continue on in the next lesson.